Boy, this microphone picks up everything, including me filling my coffee cup up and setting it down. Man, Minnie is laughing at me in the background. Oy, mayong buntag, inom ako kape. Think we're almost ready to go. Who is going to be our winner today? Coffee and Donuts with Dan. Well, you don't have to go out and get coffee and donut with it. Welcome to the Wednesday Live. Boy, do we have things to talk about today. Oh my God. It is open forum day, though. But I do have a few things to say. Welcome, Minnie, Lori, Cyrene, Aileen Cruz. Thank you for coming to my live. Larry Lee is in the house. Zendi, Papa. Larice, were you late today? Were you first? Who else is here? Mengay checked in. Anna May, what do you say? How's your day today? That don't make sense, does it? Okay, everything is set up. We're looking good. Okay. Let's see. What was I going to talk about? I got one or two. I got one or two. Let me put my cord in the back. I don't think my hat is going to blow away. Yeah. Crystal's adventure. Crystals. Something you said in one of your comments, yeah, caught my attention. I agree with you. You know, money doesn't go very far these days. It just really doesn't. This right here, this used to buy you a lot, and now it barely is able to get you a cup of coffee and a pan de sal. Your favorite treat at Anita's Bakery. Barely able to pay for that. And so, no, your point is well made. Tim is in the house. Knit Band. Daisy Lynn. Daisy Lynn is like a daughter to me. I don't know if Daisy Lynn knows that. I'm very protective of her. How about Royal trying to make the moves on you, Daisy? And then I saw Trickster was in the house. And you saw my comment, right? You saw where I put in there, happily married Daisy Lynn. I don't know if she's in the background or if she's listening. I thought that was funny. Oh, Mildred is here. Hi, Mildred. How are you? Oh, by the way, before we get started, I have a lot on my mind. I'm constipated with stuff up here. It needs to come out. Where did that word come from? constipated. You know, it probably is because I've been having a few stomach issues since I got here in Cebu this last time around here. Yeah, I don't know if it was the yellow cab pizza or what it was. I really can't say for sure. But anyway, yes, the happily married Daisy Lynn Castro is in the house today. You can look, but you can't touch. Oh, the music. I almost forgot the music was playing. Let me shut that down. I don't even know if you guys can hear that in the background. Marcus here. All right, the media player is shut down. All right, so what I was going to talk about today? Oh. Let's see. I got notes. There he is.
Let's put my
Larry
hat on.
Lee.
Hey, how you
By
doing,
the
Dad?
way,
How's
I was
Matt
just about
been?
ready to. I was just about ready to share a message that I got in the email. You know how I put an email contact in all of my videos, all of my description. You could always find me. I'm easy to find because I put my email in there.
Okay.
And someone sent me a message, right? And the message was something about my passive aggressive behavior. No, my verbiage. That's what it was. And of course, I am, and I refuse to apologize for my passive aggressive nature, because that would be passive aggressive, obviously. And so, in some form, sort of. So anyway, you get the idea. I'm not going to apologize for who I am. I can't change for you. I cannot change who I am.
Are you saying you're like Pi? I am who I am, and that's
I am
all I
who I
am.
am. I am. Yeah, I'm a Dr. Seuss book. Oh my goodness! Look at the shadow in the background. Look at usually I got.
Look at
I don't
mine.
know. Yeah, I'm okay, right? I'm okay, and you're an idiot. No. I'm just. Yeah.
Well, naturally, I'm an
That's
idiot.
yeah. That's passive aggressive. Not you. The person that sent me. The person sending me that email. All right, so give me something specific. Don't just say you're an idiot or you're passive aggressive and then not give me an example of what you're talking about. When I come to the party, if I'm going to critique someone, which I do often on this, I mean, that's who I am. I will usually bring an example of stuff that people have said, and then I'll give you my take on it. And that's all I'm trying to do here on occasion. All right. So I think yesterday, who was it? Oh, I was talking about Crystal getting my attention, because I mean, I feel bad about this whole money thing. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but the peso rate, Philippine peso rate took another jump. I mean, it's moving so fast that it's a little bit scary. It's kind of like a rocket ship launching into space. Today's rate, when I checked it before coming on, is $1. $1's worth, let's see, translates into 56.29 on the Forex this morning. So I mean, 56, or when I checked it could have changed since then. 56.29 is a pretty sizable move from where it was yesterday, which is somewhere around 56.04 or 56.06. I can't remember exactly. Mike is here. Mike, thanks very much for sending me that email. I appreciate it. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for being here in the live. Anyway, so yeah, that puts a burden on Filipinos. That puts, it's quite burdensome. And then the thing is, and it's kind of timely, because I don't know if you saw this or not, Larry, if you had a chance to go into Philippine Information Channel and take a look at what Steve had to say in his latest video. But I mean,
No, I haven't seen it today.
I mean, myself being passive aggressive is one issue, but what group of people did Steve not insult this morning or in his most recent video? Let's see what Trickster has to say. Trickster's in the house. Hey, Trickster, you didn't happen to notice that Royal was being a little bit too clear in his messages on there about how much he appreciates your wife, right? Hey, I know you tried to set him straight.
Now you're telling me I didn't know Daisy's husband. So Trickster's Daisy's husband?
Yeah, it sure is.
Okay, well, no. Like I said,
happily married, I think, for 3 or 4 years now. Could be longer.
Like I said, I know she's married, but like I said, I'm always in the background when I go.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say hi, then I'm pretty much just listening. Occasionally I'll say hi to some people, but I don't partake in the conversation.
I certainly don't have a beef with Royal. It's easy to fall in love with Daisy Lynn. That beautiful voice, she sings like a bird. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, I mean, oh my goodness gracious. Oh yeah. So, we'll talk. I'm not sure I want to talk
Jerry,
about.
how you doing?
I'm not sure I want to talk about the Steve thing just yet because maybe you guys ought to just go into the Steve at the Information Channel and subscribe and watch the video. I encourage you to do it because Steve has tremendous information to share. But today he kind of got under my skin a little bit. He made certain comments. I'm not sure that he realized that he was making them. You know, they came out the way that they did. But you know what I'm more curious about is to see if you can catch it. That would be important to see if you can understand and listen to what he had to say, and then tell me what I might be a little bit peeved about. Every man repeats a story and repeats and repeats and it repeats. It's always nice to have the CEO of the Thornton Cruise Lines in the house. And Mike, hey Joe, the countdown is in progress. And he will be in the Philippines soon. I'm looking forward to seeing Mike and his lovely wife. And then we have Jerry, I call South Texas home. I think Jerry is, I mean, people say South Texas, but I think Jerry is about as far south as you can be, right? Without being in Mexico. And we got Charmaine and the Starstruck Knit Band, who attempts to convince everybody that he is not a self-made millionaire, but as single and available as a person can be, and as rich as a person could be for a man his age. So anyway, so Knit Band. I don't know how the online dating thing is going, but we got plenty of eligible bachelorettes in the house. Larice is here, the Philippines' most eligible bachelorette and socialite and an all-around mighty fine person. By the way, you know why I say socialite? Because she shows up to every meet and greet that there is on the planet. I never wanted to really have a formal meet and greet. I just don't think anybody would show up. I mean, a meet and greet for me is meeting over.
Larice would show up?
Larice would be there, I know that. And so we'll just do, when we come to Manila, you know, I'll just invite Mabel Torres and Daisy Lynn and her family and Larice and Filipina, Raquel. I'll just invite them, you know, and we'll just go over to
Pinky.
Yeah, Pinky, great. We'll just go over to the all-you-can-eat buffet at the Pizza Hut, we'll just go to the all-you-can-eat buffet over there at the Pizza Hut. Anna Mae would come, and I'm sure Menge and Mel Temple would come, right? So anyway, yeah. Mexico's a 20-minute drive from home. I went to see the SpaceX rocket. That is the same That is some sight. Man, you are lucky to be in that neighborhood. I'm telling you, that would be
Now, Jerry, are you going to get a
fantastic.
video of it if it does launch on Thursday?
Yeah, because there was
I'd
a
like to see
delay,
that.
right? There's a delay. Didn't they abort the mission initially? Michelle is here. Thank you so much, Michelle, for coming to the live. Well, anyway, so somebody, if you hang in there, has a chance to win a little bit of your favorite libation. Could be this cup of coffee here and a donut. It could be a cup of coffee and a pandesal. It could be, I don't know.
Red
It could be
Bull?
yeah. It could be a painted label, right? It could
Yeah.
be anything you want. Let's see. Today, what do I want to talk about? I have my notes and then I can't read them because I need my reading glasses and I can't find them, but that's okay. Jerry says no work Thursday. The launch was scheduled 8 minutes to go. Oh, it was scrubbed with 8 minutes to go. Yeah, I think I was watching it on YouTube. I think someone was broadcasting and I saw mission has been scrubbed, or whatever, however they say it. Let's see. Yeah, you guys watch that Steve at the Philippine Information Channel, and then you tell me what might have what made my hair on the back of my neck stand up a little bit. Okay, so I think I have this whole. I'm glad you're all here because I think I want to share some information. Here's the World Economic Analysis for the Philippines, according to Dan only. Do not ever take any of Dan's advice. Disclaimer. Do not ever listen to anything important that Dan has to say. This is for entertainment purposes only. It has no value other than for its entertainment value, which is you get an opportunity to laugh at me. I have figured out why the peso, and only Dan, because I've not heard anybody talk about this whatsoever. So I'm going to share with you. Now, you could do whatever you want with this information. Abby, you could become a multimillionaire with the information I'm about to give you. It all depends on how you apply the information. I do not give investment advice. I do not. And if I do inadvertently give investment advice, do not follow it. By the way, Larry, I got
Yes.
my latest order of 25 1-ounce silver maple leafs in the mail. They're tucked away in a very, very safe place. And hopefully people won't discover, where they are hidden.
Well, hopefully not. I mean, you hate to lose the money.
One day they may be considered buried treasure. Oh, see how I am? I just told you they were buried somewhere. Oh, no.
I know
I cannot be
land
trusted. I cannot be trusted with my own. Oh, that kills me. All right, so let's talk about what I think is causing the rise in the peso. It is because in the Philippine peso, it's because of commodities speculation. What commodity affects the Philippines more than it would any other country? How many guesses do you need?
What commodity?
Yes, a
It
commodity.
would have to be service related, I would think. But that's not a commodity. It might be considered a commodity.
Ned Dan said he just ordered a metal detector.
Yeah. Let me know, Ned Ben, how much you need. I'm going 50-50 with you. We'll split it 60-40 though.
Tim is cracking.
I'll give you the 60.
Tim is busting me up. Dan, were you talking? Ignore anything that I have to say, Tim. Put your earplugs in for this next part. It is rice. They're playing around in the commodities market, and the speculation involves drought. It involves drought coming that we're going to be experiencing this year and into quite possibly 2024, which would affect the rice harvest. People are predicting a sharp increase in production costs for rice. And that is what that speculation in that market is what is causing the Philippine peso to rise against the dollar right now. So there you have it. No, Jerry, it's not balut. There's plenty of balut, my friend.
Not a problem, man. I'll get that out to you.
Yeah.
Second Tuesday of next week. All right.
So I did all this research so you didn't have to. I couldn't figure it out. Then I started looking at weather predictions. I figured weather must have something to do with it, which led me to rice. So when you don't have rain, you don't have rice, quite frankly, which means that they have to import more. And the number one exporter and importer of rice, of course, is going to be from China. So I believe China and Japan. So those prices.
Actually, U.S. is one of the largest producers.
That's right. For Japanese, right? We grow in the Sacramento Valley for sushi roll.
Yeah, but
they're huge.
We produce more rice and we do it cheaper than Japan can.
They're huge consumers. The Japanese like our rice because they use it. They use it in the restaurants. Sushi. All right. So now this is serious. This is serious business because it would make me believe that people would be running out on this news that I'm sharing with you, knowing that there's going to be a huge increase in the cost of rice, that being the number one staple and number one meal of every Filipino household. And then they're going to store it away, but they can't because every Filipino knows that the rice will go bad in short order, especially native rice, for a whole bunch of different reasons. That means that you can't go out and buy it, even though you know that the price is going to go skyrocket, that it's going to go up. So there you have it. What's your idea, Larry? Anybody?
There's nothing you can do.
Anybody?
Like I said, anybody out because I'm trying to figure out. I don't. They'd have to go to vegetables, and well, the cheapest thing actually is fish. I would believe for most of them along the coast anyway. So start eating regular vegetables instead of rice. But you know how resistant they'll be to that.
Mike, you're pretty sharp. I got to tell you that. You know what's coming.
You love the corn,
Mike. You know what's coming. I know you do. We can't talk about it here, but I know you do. So you and I, we're going to have to talk. We'll have to talk private message or email or something like that. But I think that even if we shared those emails, we're going to be agreeing on most things concerning world events. So when there's a decline, so let's talk about the domestic production. Let's talk about the domestic production of rice represents, so they import a lot of rice, as you know, but domestic production is also its largest, offers its largest employment opportunities for farming. And so what you're talking about, you have so many thousand people that are in farming that will all be laid off when this drought hits. They'll all be laid off. So there'll be no work, there'll be no money, and so it's going to put a dent in the recovery of the Philippine economy. Right now, I mean, it's been adjusted. The growth rate in the Philippines has already been adjusted a couple of times. Coming out of the global calamity, they were predicting that a strong recovery for the Philippines. They were talking even that it was going to go back to pre-COVID times, somewhere around 7.1 or 7.2, 7.3 growth rate. But the actual growth rate coming into 2023 is at 6%, which is very, very healthy. Because if you look at the top 15 or 16 countries with the fastest growing economies right now, the Philippines would be number 12. Philippines at 6%, according to Asian Development Outlook and Yahoo Finance, is number 12 out of a list of 16 countries going into 2023. And even a better outlook for 2024 if this drought doesn't hit us the way that the weather folks are predicting. But don't listen to Dan. Like I said, never listen to Dan. Go in and do your own research. But how do you make money based on this, right? I suppose if you could figure out to store rice, I suppose all you have to do is go out and buy a trainload of rice and then figure out how to store it until you're able to sell it when the price of rice increases. But then that would be taking advantage of the troubles that are going to be bestowed on the Philippine population through no fault of their own. Make plastic rice like China does. Well, and there's something to be said about that. For example, let me give you an example where something like that has been used in food production. So Nitban is kind of implying that they already do it, but what about them using paraffin wax in pizza in the Philippines? So what you do is you just grade the paraffin wax the same way that you would the cheese, and you really can't tell on a pizza, so long as you eat it within the first couple of minutes, that you're eating paraffin wax as a filler. It's basically inert, and it doesn't do anything to affect either the flavor or the nutritional value of the pizza, because paraffin wax has nutritional value and doesn't do any damage as it's making its way through your digestive system. Tox is here. Beautiful Tox, how are you? Oh, some days I just turn Tox on and I just stare. I just stare and listen to her voice. Anyway, I could see how some people can easily fall in love with Tox because she's so gorgeous and has that voice that people really they enjoy listening to. And because she's so nice to everyone and it comes through, she has a charisma. I guess that's a better way to put it. A simpler way of putting it is she has this charisma, when you think about it, she has a lot in common with Daisy Lynn Castro, and with others, with Pacquiao Mertz, where you just have a certain, and Larice, where you have this certain glow, that I think that there's a commonality amongst YouTubers. And so it doesn't surprise me that you see more people that are like that than not on YouTube, that have a certain glow or a certain personality. By the way, you also have the star power, Larry. I just want to point that out.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, you do. You just don't recognize it. You see, you just don't recognize.
If that's the case, it's because it's something I've been around. I mean, let's be
The
honest.
whole persona is very,
Well, it's me. I mean, all I'm doing is me.
Yeah, I realize that. I realize it's not made up, but I'm just saying
That's what
that
I'm saying. I mean, if you're right, I don't recognize it because it's just me. I don't see
it's in
anything
the
special.
voice, it's in the appearance,
But my
it's in
voice has always been my voice.
the
That's what I'm saying.
presentation of your. I'm just pointing it out to you that all you have to do is learn how to sing a few lines of, you know, Burl Ives song, and people will just flock to your channel. You know, for some reason, the algorithm picks it up. I mean, anytime that any one of these folks sings that are here in the comment section in the chat, you could see the increase. All of a sudden, you see if they had 12 people in the chat, all of a sudden it goes up to 15, it goes up to 20, goes up to 25. In other words, for some reason, there must be something in the YouTube algorithm that directs people to your newsfeed or to the channel when people start to sing. For example, look at where I'm at. Look at where I'm at. I got 12 people right now, 12 million in the chat, in the comment section. So let's do an experiment. Let's do an experiment. No, wait. I don't want to sing a copywritten song. That's the danger here, right? Because I don't want to get a copyright strike or something like that. But it would be interesting to do an experiment like the Princeton egg experiment. I don't know if you guys know about the Princeton egg experiment. It's a mind experiment. And start singing to see if we can have some sort of an impact on the YouTube algorithm to see all of a sudden if it starts directing folks over to the channel. Something like that.
But
Any thoughts in the comment
I want to
section at all?
respond to Mike Hajo. He says, if you come to the PI, Larry, and the ladies will be fighting over you. Well, I don't know how much you know, Hajo, but I can't come to the PI right now. My mom is still alive. She's 97. I would love to come over, but even if my mom passed away right now, I got a couple bills I want paid off and save up some money. So if I get over there and really like it, I won't come back. Come back to the States. I get over there and like it quite a bit. I might come back to the States for a little bit and then go back over and stay for good. My plan is, if I can, I'd like to move over there. That's my plan. To get my bills squared away, save up enough money, and find a place in the Philippines that I'm comfortable with, and then maybe meet someone. I'm not looking to do it long distance, but that's me. I'd rather do it boots on the ground because I'm not a country boy. My voice make it sound like I am. I don't know the way I talk, but my hometown's 80,000, and I like towns larger than that. Uh, but I can live in a town that size as long as I'm close to a bigger town. Uh, but we'll have to see. Hopefully, I still have my health when I get all my bills paid off. But I just want to respond to that.
There's Tox. Look at her. How can you not like her?
Oh,
How
she's
can you
cute as all
not?
get out.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you that. Many of the women, whether they're married or single, in this your chat, your live stream, are very good looking. But like I said, I'm a boots on the ground type of man. I responded to somebody who was talking about, do you do it through a dating app or boots on the ground? Uh, I'm not saying it can't work through a dating app because I believe it can, but
Alex is here.
I think it can. I think on a dating app, it's a lot easier to fake your persona for a while. I mean, you can probably do it for a few months because what is it, an hour or so a day? Maybe you'll communicate. Whereas if you're boots on the ground, it's a lot harder to fake it because you're around each other a lot more. So if you're faking, it'll slip. And so that's why I'm more of a boots on the ground type person.
You wish
You're
she were
his
single,
idol.
Nitban. You wish she were single. I think she's seeing someone. I think she has a beau.
And Alex is in Indonesia. Well, welcome, Alex.
Cool. Welcome. Welcome to my life. By the way, something really weird happened. Minnie, she was chuckling about it because she saw it about the same time I did. So there's not too far from here, there's a coffee wagon that opens up. It doesn't open up early enough for me, for a coffee fan, but it's like a container, it's like a 10-foot container converted into, a portable coffee stand. And I like going over there now and again because they make a great cup of coffee, better than any around here anyway. So, but when you're walking along the sidewalk, you have to pass by a window where they hand out the coffee. So you order it on one side, and then you go around to the sidewalk side or the storefront side of the other buildings in the shopping center, and that is the pickup window. So they have a big sign on there that says pickup window. And so one day we're walking by, and there was a gorgeous 22, I would say, to 25-year-old Filipina, just sort of leisurely hanging out the window below the sign that said pickup window. And so I grabbed my phone. I grabbed my phone as quickly as I could because I wanted to get a shot of this, but unfortunately she moved away from the window just as I was getting ready to snap the picture, and then she turned back at me and just sort of flashed me a smile. Like, I know what you were thinking. I know what you were up to. You were going to turn me into a TikTok sensation. Yeah, it was going to go viral. Folks, if you see Dan pointing his camera your direction, just roll with it. Just roll with it. Let me have my fun. Oh, by the way, here's what happens. We were in the terrace. We were in the terraces at Bo's coffee shop. Everywhere. Everyone knows everywhere around the world, if you've been in the Philippines, where you got to go to meet people. Expats, if you're in Cebu, you go to Ayala, you go to the terraces up there, second floor, Bo's coffee shop, on the patio, and everyone will be there. So,
and if you want to meet the expats in Bye Bye City, Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts, exactly. The American Embassy at Dunkin' Donuts. So anyway, we're all sitting there. So we were sitting there. This is the first time since we've been sitting there that this has happened to me. So we were just sitting there, and then all of a sudden I see two famous YouTubers, a married couple, coming outside of the terraces. They were just walking by. I think they were just walking by just to see who might be hanging around. And it wasn't her, it was him that pointed at me. He turns his neck sharply to look at me, and he goes, "Well, that's he's on YouTube." Of course, I had the same reaction to him and his wife. I looked at them and I was like, "Oh yeah, they're on YouTube, but I can't remember their name." They had the same reaction. I don't remember his name. So this happened. This has happened a couple of times. The first time on the terraces, and I wish I could remember their channel name because I like it. It showed up in my news feed. They're doing really, really well on YouTube. They're getting something like 4 or 5, 6K hits per video, which is where you need to be. And she is very articulate. They both are, but I mean, people come to the channel to watch her, and I can't think of the channel name. So she's a young Filipina, wears glasses most of the time, and he's an older gent in very, very good shape.
Is it an old dog?
No, it wasn't an old dog. Everybody knows the king of comedy. I mean the the Johnny Carson of the Philippines. I guess that's what they're calling him.
There you go. What about Mike and Janet?
Mike and Janet. No, I haven't run into them. It would be nice to run into them. I'm real curious about what kind of relationship they really have. You know, Gio caught my attention the other day when he started talking about Filipina traits and how if the Filipina isn't hanging on to their man, they know something is wrong. And I don't know about that.
I think if the woman's hanging on to their man constantly, I think that's more out of fear. Now, that may be. I mean, you know, if she trusts her man, I understand when you first start dating. Okay.
Right.
You know, that's different. But if you've been together for a while, you got to start trusting
half the time, man, Minnie is either walking ahead of me or behind me. And then half the time we're together, but half the time she's walking a few steps ahead.
You built that relationship, you built that trust. And that has to come from caring and actually trusting each other.
Does this fall under the same category as do you hold the lumber when you slumber?
No, I don't think so. I think that's more they're trying to.
Is that one of those things? Mike says the wife hasn't hung on me in 25 years. So there you go.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, I think the hanging on to be a natural, normal thing would be early in the relationship. Hey, Abby, how you doing? But I don't think if you've been together like you and Man Mimi and Mike and his wife and some of these others have been together for a couple of years. If you're constantly hanging on after 2 or 3 years, do you trust the guy or not? I mean, like you said, I mean, I can understand walking side by side, and I can understand not him wanting to go out and get hammered with the guys. That's not what I'm talking about. You know, because some guys, you know, they're trustworthy, but if they go out and get hammered, then they become idiots, you know. So I can understand them not wanting to go out and get drunk with the guys, but there got to come a time where you trust a person. It's like you. I mean, if you're with a girl, and whether she's a lot younger or not, you have to trust her. You know,
right.
It's a two-way street there. Like I said, when you first start dating, I can understand, you know, you wanting to hang on and be with each other all the time. But that's not because you don't trust each other. It's because it's new love, you know. And new love is different than when you've been together for a while. It's still love, but it's not that. You guys know what I'm saying. I kind of have a hard time.
Mike is reminding us of a quote from Robert Conrad. I do miss Robert Conrad. I think Robert Conrad had a nice life. He had a nice long life too. I think he just passed away like a year or two ago.
Yeah, or did he? I got to talk to Mike here. Mike says she trusts him but doesn't trust the other ladies. I'm thinking, like I said, at first, maybe a year or two, but there's got to be a time where you're going to have to say, hey, look, I know he doesn't care about those other women. He's going to come back to me. And if you know, the other women may hit on him, but you got to trust him to turn them down. Or other guys, you know, like here in the States, we bring back one of these gorgeous Filipino girls here in the States. There's going to be guys going to hit on her. That's all there is to it. If she's gorgeous, remember your good looks is perceived by the people who are looking at you. So in the Philippines, we're more of the odd commodity. We're the limited number of Caucasians or blonde hair, blue eyes, whatever you want to say. But you bring the girl from the Philippines here to the States, she's the limited she's the exotic one, not us. So guys are going to say, well, look at that girl is gorgeous, and they're going to flirt. I'm sorry, it's going to happen. And you got to trust it.
Oh my goodness. Where's Jerry? Jerry's leaving?
What, Jerry?
Is it nappy time already, Jerry?
It's getting close to Jerry's time's nap time.
All right, Jerry. See you later. Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
appreciate it.
Jerry's going to bed. Have a good night, Jerry. I know it's close. It's your bedtime, so you like to get up early in the morning.
All right. So, what was the other thing? I know I had a list of things I wanted to talk about, and I misplaced my list.
I hope
I'll
I
just
didn't get
have
you
to.
off topic. I mean, it's just,
Anyway. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I'm a little frustrated, like I said, with a couple of the things that Steve had to say today, but
well, like I
I,
said, I
I
haven't
don't
seen
think
it yet. So I'll watch it. I was going to
yeah, I
watch it
don't think I
earlier
want to
today,
talk
but
about them until at least I get somebody else's perspective on it
well,
to
we'll talk
see if
about it
it.
next time because I'll watch it.
Yeah, we'll
I
see. We'll see if you catch what I caught when the way
I
that you.
started binge watching a program. It was only 7 episodes. It was the whole show. It was a limited Netflix show and called The Florida Man. And so I started binge watching that today, and I binge watched all 7 episodes. So I really didn't do much on YouTube today at all. I did go out and get a lot of my walk in. I'm still not quite to where I want to be, but I either get there after we get done or I don't. I don't care.
You know what I've been thinking about lately? I've been thinking about because others on other YouTube channels have been talking about it. And I know the Filipina P. Jenna Lynn is here. Jenna Lynn, thanks so much for coming to the live. I appreciate it. One thing they've been talking about is a question that always comes up that always seems to get a lot of hits on YouTube is whether you would, once you married a Filipina, would you bring her back to the United States or would you stay in the Philippines? And this is curious because I think most Filipinas actually want to stay with their families if they can. When you
I
think,
think so.
Larry?
I do. I'm gonna. The only way they would want to go overseas is to make money to help the family out. And most, like your
But
overseas
well,
foreign workers, they know
right,
that. Let's say we got married. Let's say we got. Well, you did. So you get married. You bring your wife over to the States, and she's going to work, make money, send money back to her family, and if she needs to, she'll help out with you. But you had your wife save her money so she can buy the house. But I'm just saying, if you need to, she'll help with the household expenses here in the States. But it's not because she doesn't want to be with her family, it's because she wants to improve her family's position. At least that's the way I'm thinking about it. It's like the
right.
overseas foreign worker.
But would
They
you
they
feel
don't want to leave
threatened?
their family. They want to make money to help their family.
But would you feel threatened if you were to take you being an older man? Let's say you ended up with a 30
I
year
would.
old, 35. Would you feel
You're saying
insecure
someone
about
half my
taking her?
age. Let's say basically
Yeah,
someone half my age.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
I would be nervous. Yes, I would be. I wouldn't be. I would.
Would you
And
have
it's
a
not
fear that she would
necessarily with.
become
Like I said,
westernized?
there's westernized. Plus, like I said, the guys are going to be hitting on her. If she's good looking, they're going to be hitting on her. Now that's where you're going to find out where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Does she really care for you, or did she just want to try to help her family out? Uh,
I mean,
but
you
like
know
I said,
that.
you got to face that no matter what. I mean, I can marry an American woman, and I still got to wonder: is this to make her? Why? Because in America, a lot of women and men both, they'll say, "Oh, let's get married," and they know that, hey, I don't care if it didn't work out. We'll get a divorce and move on. It's that attitude. Uh, but like I said, and I would have the same problem if I married a 35-year-old American woman, Caucasian, I mean, at my age. I'd still worry about that. Uh, and I would wonder about it if I was in the Philippines as well. It's
See,
just
so Mike is saying that I told my wife she doesn't have to work and I won't make her work because I know how miserable it is to punch a clock every day. I don't want her to suffer that. Yeah, and
I'm with you, Mike.
I kind of was like I was the same way. It was there were I think 10 years went by, before Minnie got her first and only job working in the States that she enjoyed immensely, by the way. And I think she wouldn't mind going back to if we ended up going back to the States for any reason. But I never pressured her to go to work, and I never made any demands on her, as far as work or anything like that, or the money that was earned by her as a result of work. She had her own goals already listed down that she talked about almost every day. I was pretty much on board with her realizing those goals or realizing those dreams. And so I realized none of that stuff could actually materialize and happen
Hey,
unless
Pinky Gray, how you doing?
unless she was allowed to the freedom to bring those dreams to fruition. She needed to have the flexibility. Pink, are you here? Hi, Pink.
Yeah, she
Uh,
just popped in.
so
And
that
so did
doesn't mean
Beth
you
Beltran.
that doesn't mean you sequester her, right, Mike? She's not a prisoner of war.
Hey, girlie.
Is she? I don't think so, right, Mike? You just don't want her working because you realize how screwed up things are. But I think when we came over here, Minnie was ready to go. I mean, I'm not saying she doesn't miss her friends and everything, but she was ready to go. She saw the same things that I saw, that things were changing rapidly in terms of the economy of the United States. Thank you so
Well,
much, Beth.
I'm going to tell you something about the woman wanting to work. Uh, some women would find it, especially with no friends, they'd have very few friends if they came from, unless you move into an area that's got a lot of Filipinos. They got to be able to get out and make friends. So if they're going to stay home all day, you got to be able to trust her to go out and mingle with people. And
Yeah,
some would just soon go to work because it gives them something to do instead of sitting home all day.
yeah. Well, we were lucky. I mean, because Sacramento, as you know, it has an extremely large Filipino population. So assimilation for Minnie was a little bit easier for her because she was able to get out right away and have and establish friendships with people.
That's what I said. They got to have either friendships. 'Cause, let's be honest about it. You're going to be at work 8 hours a day, and if you don't have kids, I mean, how much housework is there to do? She's got to have something to do. You know, at least all the Filipinos and Filipinas I've known like doing something. They don't want to sit around and do nothing. They're not lazy like myself. Okay, they want. So I mean, they're going to clean the house, yeah, but what's that? A couple hours, maybe a day. Uh, so if they don't have friends to visit, a part-time job, something to do. Put spending money in their pocket. They can send it to their family, do whatever they want with it. But myself personally, I would rather live overseas than bring them over here, only because I want to retire.
Because I don't know if some of the Filipinos in the chat know this, but there are actually Facebook pages where they talk about this stuff. They're actually Facebook pages where a bunch of expats, a bunch of men get together and they start talking about go over to the Philippines and find yourself a Filipina nurse, and then you'll never have to work another day in your life. So there.
I'm sorry. I don't want them supporting me. Uh, Maybe working with me to do things, but I don't want to say, well, you work, I'm going to stay home because I'm late. No. Uh, no. That's why I said I would rather move back overseas uh, where my money could take care of the household. And if she wants to work still, I'm not going to fight with her about that. I would prefer she didn't if we could afford not to. And,
Right. That was Abby, that was Minnie's main objective. The main objective was she wanted to have her own money so she could buy things to help her family.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
like I said, I can't. I would never blame a woman for that. I would, if I was a woman married to a man, I wouldn't blame.
but
I wouldn't blame
there are
him.
actually men out there that plan on coming over and marrying a professional Filipina and taking them back to the States so that they'll have a comfortable retirement.
If you're talking about she has a comfortable retirement, I'm for that. If he's talking about
No, we're
he
talking
has a,
about
I'm not saying if
he
he's talking
has a
about he
comfortable
has a comfortable
retirement
retirement, I'm all
because
against
he
that.
can retire and she takes over the responsibility for working and becomes the main breadwinner for the household.
Then he better do all the typical chores that she would do if he was working and she stayed home. In other words, he better clean the house, he better cook, he better do the dishes. Otherwise, it's not fair.
I'm afraid, Mike, that I'm guilty of this same thing, but the marriage survives.
And I had a grandmother who said my grandpa's money was her money and her money was her money. It wasn't our money; it was her money.
Yeah. Well, you know what happens here in the Philippines. If you're working, you're going home to mama and you're giving her share first.
Well, you're giving her the lion's share of it.
Right.
I would be, because I'd want her to take care of the bills. If she's not working, here's the money, pay the rent, pay, or I could have it taken out and pay the rent. But I mean, buy the groceries, do this, do that. And if we agree to give her family so much money, then give the family that money. Uh, but I want so much money that I can do what I want to do as well.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's $50 a week or whatever it is, that'll be my money.
We never, interesting enough, Minnie and I, we never had that any issues regarding the money, how the money works.
Well, no, a lot of you guys have been married for a while. You've
Well,
already
no,
worked all this out over years.
we never had any problem from the very
That's what I'm saying,
beginning.
but I mean,
Yeah.
and there are couples that way. Like I said, I'm not real good with money. I'll be honest with you. I would prefer to be married to a woman that's good with money.
See,
She
so
pinches that penny so hard it screams. That's what I
Ti-
want.
Tim is he's pretty clear on this topic, and that's that I would not take my girlfriend to the States. I don't want her to get westernized.
I can understand that, Tim. Like I said,
Yeah,
I would
I
be
really,
leery, but I
do
would
too.
if I was a lot younger than what I am. Let's say I got married while I was in the military. All right. I'm sorry, I'm bringing her to the States. You know.
Right.
But at my age, no. And I'm going to tell you
Yeah,
the truth.
it's almost a wash. Tim, I got to tell you, I kind of agree with you. If we were talking about today, and the reason why is because it's almost a wash. Even when you marry a professional woman, even if you're looking forward to making life a little bit easier because you needed you needed the extra income of somebody working in the household. The problem is that it's almost a wash. It's almost a wash when you're talking about how much it costs in order to live in the United States, versus, just staying home, just staying in the Philippines. I mean, it's almost a wash. And so I think that Filipinas and Filipinos going overseas to Saudi and working makes sense, because you're basically leaving your family behind, and then you're going out there earning as much money as possible and sending it home to your family to help them, and that makes sense to me.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, getting married.
Tough. It's tough on the person that's doing it. Don't get me wrong.
It's tough because you're going to go through emotional separation, and separation anxiety is going to be difficult for both you and your children. I mean, it could even be traumatic in some cases, but it's a better way to go than to marrying someone and going to the United States. I'm talking about specifically to the United States with the hope of earning money, and then providing a living for yourself or Western lifestyle and helping your family at the same time is going to be very, very difficult.
Well, if you're talking about the situation where the guy's wanting to marry a professional woman, bring her to the states, and he can retire, right? And now, if he's old enough to get his Social Security, they're still better off in the Philippines because she's still a professional making good money in the Philippines. Let's be honest about it. And he can retire and live a Western lifestyle in the Philippines where it's warmer, people are friendlier overall. Because you know how it was before you left. People are starting to become so divisive. You know, you got the people on the right, and the people on the left, and the far right and the far left. I mean, gee, uh, and they don't want to compromise. When we were kids, and when we were even in our 40s and 50s, a lot of politicians were willing to reach across the aisle and work on their differences to try to get something done for the betterment of the country. Nowadays, it's like my way or the highway, and that's on both sides of the aisle. And it's like, well, we know best. You don't know anything, and I just
Yeah, actually, the women should be handling the money no matter where they're from. That's my belief, anyway.
Netband says a qualified nurse earns $500 a month in the Philippines. But like I said, Netband, if you go over there with your retirement will take care of all your expenses. That $500 a month will set you up greatly. And it depends on how much money you got coming in on your Social Security. Let's say you got as much as Dan coming in. I don't know how much Dan got coming in. I know he's got more than I do. They're living quite comfortable on what Dan's got coming in. Now you got a nurse making more money, throwing in another 500 a month. Well, guess what? Now you're living a little more comfortable, and her family's doing a lot better. And it's the same thing for me. Let's say I get married to a nurse. I bring her over here. Yeah, she makes a little more money, but I'm quitting work now. So now we got our rent, we got the groceries, we got the car, we got the insurance, we've got our living expenses are going out for entertainment. And now she's got to send money. She's got to help pay all that because I quit working. So all
Oh,
that income
as you can imagine, Minnie and I, we hung around with lots of couples that were like us
yeah,
in
but I'm just
Sacramento.
saying,
They're all over the place.
yeah,
They're
I'm
all
just
over
saying,
the place, and things didn't
you do
always
that.
go well. I got to tell you, we watched a lot of divorces. We we
Yeah.
we watched a lot of separations.
But I'm just saying, no,
So
you bring her over here, and I quit working. Now I got more money coming in from work than I do Social Security. Okay, I make more money working than I do on Social Security. Now I do all right. I can live on my Social Security, but you take that other money away, and then it's just barely surviving. So now she comes over. I quit working. She's working. So I survive a little bit better. But is it better for her? Is it better for her family? It'd be better for me to go over there, and because I can live very comfortable. Two of us could live very comfortably on what I got coming in on my Social Security if I got all my bills paid off. And actually, to be honest with you, if we don't have to give her family too much money, she wouldn't have to work. But if she works, hey, we're a whole lot better off than we are here in the States. And plus, like I said, people are friendlier there than they are here nowadays. Nowadays, people over here suck. Sorry for me. Sorry for the rant,
Larry,
but it's true.
don't hold back, brother. Just tell it the way you see it. Don't hold back.
Well, it's the truth, though, man. I mean, like I
Abby,
said,
you're right. Everything is situational, but I didn't see any difference. I mean, the divorce rate in the states is pretty high, and I got to tell you, be
about
honest with you,
50% or
to be
higher.
honest with you, Larry, I didn't see much difference in divorce rates of couples that were mixed like they are here. What we're talking about in the Philippines, than I saw any other couple divorce rate is probably about the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the point is that these modern day pressures, they get to you no matter what your situation is, Abby. So yeah, it's going to be situational. I mean, the pressure. I mean, thing is, like, for example, I'll just give you one example that I can think of, Abby. So you're both working and you're both helping each other out, right? But you're in the morning, you're both going two different directions. Prior to you coming into the relationship, we had one car. After coming into the relationship, we have two cars. Two cars means you now have
Twice
car
the insurance.
payment, car insurance, gas for that car. And why is it that every Filipino that I've ever met wants a big ass car? I just don't understand it. Wants one of those big ass SUVs. Every Filipino that I've ever met over there, with the exception, I think, of one, has driven a big ass SUV that costs like $300 a month to fill with gas. I mean, it's just
That's the sign that is a symbol of success. You know,
Mike says the ladies working guitar in Saudi and the men stay in PI and play around.
That's probably true, Mike.
Well, but maybe not, Mike, because I was looking at, when I look at numbers, when I'm looking at the stats, man, women are sure women here, they're waiting longer before they form long-term relationships. That's one thing that caught my attention. So, and then you had that blip in 2020. You think that during the calamity of 2020, everybody would be making love and making babies, but they weren't.
Yeah.
They weren't. It doesn't even look like they were doing it in 2021. And so women are starting to. They're waiting longer to get married. They're waiting longer to have children. They're just starting to think about how having children at a young age impacts their lives and the lives of their family. ABCM is here. Hi, thanks for coming to my live. Nice seeing you here. Thank you. Sailor Moon is here.
I didn't see Sailor Moon. She here?
Sailor Moon. Pink hand waving.
Pretty Me's here.
There's Minnie. Pretty Me is here. So, I mean, so things are changing. They're changing kind of fast. Mel is here. So, all the Filipino ladies I knew in the States were westernized. Well, I mean, you're living in the West, so isn't becoming westernized a good thing, Tim? Let me pose that question to you. I mean, what part of it do we not like? That's really the whole, at the foundation of it. What part of the fear of being westernized? I mean, you mean you don't want them exploding in weight? I don't know what we're talking about here. You don't want them to be you don't want a doctor at the hospital that she works at hitting on her, because this is one situation that happened a lot with a friend of mine who works in the healthcare facility. How about this? In this case, it was reversed. She came over to the Philippines and married a Filipino. A younger Filipino took him back to the States, and guess what happens? All these young Filipinas started hitting on her man. Just the opposite of what you think might happen if you take your younger wife over to the US of A. I mean, would it happen the same way in Europe? Would it happen the same way in Australia?
Probably. Remember the exotic, because he's now the exotic is how many Filipino male are in that area that, it's
$500 a month is a lot of money here in the Philippines. It's not nearly enough, but it's a lot more than most people are making.
Yeah, like I said, especially if you happen to get married and go over there with your income, then you had the $500 on top of it.
Oh my goodness, you're giving away my secrets. You're giving away my secrets, Mike. Thanks a lot, buddy. You're giving away the secret to my future wealth. Is that what we're doing here? I mean, that would be very bad to bet against the Philippines as opposed to going with it, I would say. You know, that karmic reaction that could occur, the whole karma thing, which we know a lot about if you're married to a Filipina. We know what karma is all about. I would stay single in the Philippines and just play around if I had not been married. Yes, I think that I'm with you on that one. I think that
I'm not.
here,
I'm not. Remember, I'm not married, so no.
yeah, the whole thing is really tough because when you're, I mean, we talk about, I've been talking about all this stuff about lining yourself up, with success and stuff like that. So I have to, here's another way to look at it. So when I was single for 12 years prior to meeting Minnie. I came over here, I was here 3 or 4 times a year. I was having a good old time.
Yeah, well, no.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you're just going over to visit, that's one thing. But if I'm moving over there, I don't want to play maybe date a couple to try to see who's right. But it's not like I want to stay single forever. No.
Yeah, and I think that's a point that I was trying to make is that there are, you get tired of that after a while. You get tired of being single after a while. You want somebody to share your misery with.
Yeah, I want somebody to commiserate with. You got that right.
Exactly. But there's something else that goes along with that. And maybe some folks may recognize this as sort of being a little bit biblical in nature. But true success did not actually start to happen until after I got married to Minnie and then realized that she was a missing piece or missing link or missing piece of a puzzle. Yeah. I realized people don't always play into that philosophical belief, but I saw my life start to really turn after I became responsible for Ma'am Minnie and raising her daughter. So there's that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, adding responsibility to yourself. By taking that on, it would make it. Yeah. But, yeah, I can see that saying, all right, hey, did you ever see the movie Fools Rush In?
I don't remember.
With Selma Hayek and Matthew Perry.
Tell us about it. Not the.
All right, there's
give us the Reader's Digest version.
There's this. They meet, have sex, and then don't see each other for a few months. She comes by just to let him know that she's pregnant, and she's going to keep the baby because she's Catholic. And so she leaves, and Matthew Perry decides, because he was in a business meeting with his business partner and the lady that's in charge of the liquor license for the club they're trying to open. So he takes off after her, and he goes, he gets there, he says, before that, I was moving. That's me. I knew what I want, but now I'm mad at you. Now I don't. Now I know, like he's all discombobulated, but you're what I always needed, but I didn't know that I needed. In other words, saying, hey, look, I wasn't sure, but I know I need you. And so they ended up getting married right away and all that good, happy stuff. And it worked out in the end. But that one part you're talking about, how it felt, and he's having trouble to explain that to her. It's like, I never knew I needed you, but you're exactly what I needed. I never knew I was looking for you.
Well, a lot of people would say that it's that forming of the family unit that has some kind of a positive thing, has a positive impact on your, on everything.
There's a couple of things that Mike Ajo says here. I have to agree with him completely. He goes, Dan and Minnie's journey, responsibilities for someone else separates the men from the boys. I have to agree with him on that.
But
But
I'm
for
not
them
sure,
to do
Mike,
that,
that it has anything to do with adopting feminist ideas.
no, he just said
I
being
mean,
responsible for somebody else helps makes you
I
grow
mean,
up.
if you in all modern societies, this happens. I mean, as developing countries develop more, then it always shows up. You know, it always shows up.
But
But I
another thing
mean,
Mike says, Selma Hayek is hot. And he's right about that.
yeah. So, and Nibban's making a decent point also.
Uh, and he says that's only
Uh,
for the
they
couple.
make it too easy to marry and too easy to divorce.
Yeah. Oh, they do. They do.
Yeah.
I mean, you want a quickie marriage, you go to Vegas. You know, you get married the same day. Now I see
Yeah,
you
I
want a
kind of
divorce,
have.
go to
You know what?
California.
And Nibban is saying, Dan, he's having a little bit of fun with me, but have you Easternized yet, Dan? Yes. I mean, in a lot of ways. For example, see, and I'm glad Nibban brought it up because I meant to talk about this. So, you know that one day where I think who was here with us online? Who was here? Not Leonard, but
Well, we got Jack. We've got
Jack.
Dave.
Yeah. So Jack was on board, and Jack had made the suggestion. He had said that, Dan, the longer that you're here, the more it feels like the West. Some statement like that, right? And so I started thinking about that. And yes, that could be it. That could be the reason why instead of me. So I've said a couple of times, I've made the statement. I said, every day seems like it's becoming more westernized here. But it could be that I'm just becoming more comfortable in this environment. And so I'm just becoming more comfortable with it's feeling more like home. And as it feels more like home, then I associate it with it becoming more westernized. Of course, probably after the live stream, Minnie and I will be heading over to McDonald's for a Big Mac or a Happy Meal or something, you know.
I want my cup of coffee at your time. I would be drinking coffee.
I mean,
It's
you
too late
know,
for coffee.
I mean, I think that's a Western concept. You know, I'm not so sure about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
You talk about fast food, that's Western. Fast food is Western.
yeah, fast food. One day divorce, yes, one day divorce. So you make it easier, and so, but ideally, if they're making it so easy for you to get married and then get divorced, then I don't see a problem with this. You're either meant for each other or you're not, and when and where you meet or how you separate or any of that, it has nothing to do with nothing.
I'm not for easy divorce.
Yeah.
It's
not for me to judge and for me to tell you to be married forever.
Well,
It's just not my place.
I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm just saying I'm not for it. The reason for that is it gives a person, instead of trying to work it out, it's like, I'll walk away. I don't care.
They could work it out as a divorced couple and they could remarry. It's so easy to do. They could work it out on their own time, dude. I know. Hey, I'm being a little bit facetious.
I got an uncle that remarried his first wife, and it didn't work the second time either. But now his second wife, when he finally got to a different woman, his second marriage, so technically his third, that one worked, and they were married for 20, 30 years. I can't remember. For many years until my uncle died. Now she's still alive. We still consider her family. But
in this statement that I realize I'm behind a little bit in the chat, but this statement that Mike is making, so is that why it takes so long for boys to become men? That's another issue. That is that what's responsible for that? I mean, I have a son that who's a By the way, Filipinas, I have a son who is a registered nurse. I have two boys that are registered nurses. They're twins. One of them's married to another registered nurse. who
Yeah,
has
women
mentioned to
single.
me on more than one occasion that perhaps the Philippines is the place to be looking for the love of his life.
Well, now that you're there, maybe he'll come visit.
I've been trying to get a hold of him on email. Maybe he's watching the feed today, and he'll say, "Yeah, it's about time that I give my dad a shout out."
Now, I got a
Or maybe
question.
one of his brothers are going to see this, and they'll say, "Dad's looking for you."
Now, the one brother, the one son you're talking about, is he
Yeah,
the traveling nurse?
he's the traveling nurse
So
who
he's got to wait till his
last time I
contract's
heard
up.
he was headed to Santa Fe.
Yeah, like I said, he'd have to wait till his contract's up. But he could do
Yeah,
like Danny from Road to the Philippines,
right. That's right.
because Danny from Road to the Philippines, that's what he is a nurse, a traveling nurse or whatever. I mean, because he pretty much stays in the same area. So, but he's a nurse that signs contracts, works so long, then takes some time off. So
I want to be Easternized, Mike says, and learn to let go what truly doesn't matter.
there you
I'm
go.
with you 100%. I'm with you 100%. But a lot of people would say leaving when you leave the United States, you're leaving your loved ones behind. And
Yeah.
I got to share a story. So my mom I probably shared this before, but my mom came up to me and said this. So is this the last time that I'm going to be seeing you? I said, Mom, are you planning on going anyplace real soon? Because if you're not, this probably isn't the last time that we're going to be together. Because I mean that the whole world, the internet and everything has opened up the entire world. You can chat. I pointed out to my mom, how often did we used to chat when I was only a 6-hour drive away? How often did we see each other when I was only a 6-hour drive away? Nothing is going to change if you frame it in that perspective. She just laughed at me. My mom's very smart. She knew exactly what I was saying to her. She's very smart. I'm not seeing you any more, any less than I have in the last 10 years. Oh, Dan, you still show up on time for an appointment, though, not Easternized enough. Yeah, I can't get used to this whole Filipino time thing. Just talk and help each other make good relationship. That's about what you need to do. Good communication, perhaps, is the key to a successful relationship. We're not talking simply marriage. We're talking about having a good relationship with anybody, friends and family, But except for one thing, I'm gonna admit something to you, Abby. I'm gonna admit something to you. I haven't been going out of my way lately in order to preserve friendships and relationships. And truth be told, I don't really keep friendships going for very long. Because people don't care they don't care for my sarcastic, my sarcasm. There, I said it. And so, and then I don't care enough for them to want to change. And so I don't keep friendships for very long. In other words, and then I'm a strong believer in getting negativity as far away from you as you possibly can. And the sooner, the better. And so generally speaking, I don't hang around with people that I identify as being losers. I don't hang around with them very long. And so there has to be something that you have to bring to the party that intrigues me in order for me to develop and maintain that relationship. And so anyway, an admission. When you don't get pissed off by the long lines and dogs barking the chickens, then you're Easternized. Well, you have to. That's why when you live somewhere, especially in the city, you have to live on the 30th floor I suppose the 17th floor works out pretty good. I suppose that also has something to do with my wanting to come to the city now and again for a few weeks at a time. That probably has something to do with it.
Well, the dogs I don't think would bother me. I've lived in neighborhoods where we've had dogs that were outside that would bark, but I've not lived in areas with roosters, so I can't say that the roosters wouldn't bother me. And I'm not sure what conclusions she's thinking I'm jumping to, but
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, Crystals, because I suppose you could give me the same advice. I'm constantly jumping, concluding. That's why I give that disclaimer mostly these days in the front end of my live stream, and then remind people that not to take me too seriously, because I'm a pretty sarcastic guy, and you can get pretty tired of the sarcasm, especially if you're Filipino. Filipinos have although a cab driver laughed his ass off me the other day, and I was being very sarcastic, right? So when the ambulance came by the other day and it was roaring, man, Minnie and I, we were in the taxi, and I started singing the song "Another One Bites the Dust," and he just started busting up laughing.
what about
That's
DOA?
another. Yeah, when he started laughing, I said, "That's another Westerner," that he was laughing so hard. He was laughing so hard, I thought we were going to crash. He was like, "That's another Westerner that bit the dust."
But now maybe she's talking about my assuming in some of the relationships.
Yeah, Mike, they wouldn't do it anyway. So why bother asking? It's one thing. That's one thing that's really interesting about my boys, is that they never, not once, asked me for money for anything. And it's a pleasure sending them money, for their birthday and stuff like that. I get for birthdays and Christmas, I just chuckle every time I forward that money off. I send the money off, I just laugh because it just tickles me, because like, they're always your children. You're always thinking them of little kids, being little kids, but they're grown adults making great money. I mean, but yet on birthdays and Christmas, my mom sends me money. She sends a check, and I cash it. And I cash it and I smile and laugh as I'm putting it in the bank, because I'm thinking, oh, I'm honoring my mom by doing this, and I think I really am honoring my mom. It's kind of keeping that parent thing alive. And then I do that with my kids, and every time I do it, I think not only of my mom sending me money every birthday and Christmas, I also think about me doing it for my kids, and then how they call you, how the kids are very respectful in acknowledging that you're their father, you're their mother, you're their dad, you're pop, thanks pops. I appreciate that, it's really strange.
I send gift cards to my nephews and nieces.
Yeah. You send gift cards. Gift cards are easy. You're really bailing on having to give it too much emotional thought.
Well, the thing is, when they were young, and I mean, they're all teenagers or older,
right?
So when they were young, it was easy.
It's easy. Really when they get older, it's so hard to do. Yeah. Same thing with adults. Go spend the money with whatever you want to spend the money on. If it's a video game or a this or a that.
The thing is, that when you buy a video game for them, a lot of times they already have it.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what ones they have and what ones they're into.
Right.
And they, I send them it's to the same store, all three of them. I send one for their birthday and one for Christmas, and they know they've got both of them coming. So if something's going to cost more than what the card they get the first time, hang on to it till they get the second one. And like I gave all four of them, I gave them a beer steins.
Tox, by the way, Tox, I just wanted to mention, that I really appreciate you being here for the live, because I know how difficult it is to get up so early in the morning. And by the way, what are you having for breakfast? Are you having a donut and a cup of coffee by chance? Somebody told me they can't drink coffee because it causes them the acid reflux. They have acid reflux. Yeah.
Some
So
people
no,
do.
don't do anything that'll cause harm to you. That's for sure.
That's a fact.
Right.
But like I had two. They belonged to my younger brother, and
5
so I
links,
had two
really?
that were exactly alike. So
Really?
I gave it to the two brothers, and then I had one that was a little more fancy, and I gave it to the niece because that was his favorite. They both lived in Terre Haute, and they played together all the time. And she was his, he was his, he was her favorite uncle. And he was,
Larice, who's on right now? How many websites, how many online live chats are you working right now? Is Pacquiao Mertz on right now? Here you go. Larice, she's working it.
yeah,
She's working it.
Elise is always working it.
Yeah, you know what, Larice, you're always a winner in my book. You're always a winner. Everybody in this chat is, as a matter of fact. Let's see. Or else I wouldn't be hanging around with you. I just told you that. Everybody had to have paused when I said that and go, does Dan like me?
I figure when you no longer like me, I will no longer be able to get into the panel.
Oh, you'll bail on me way before I bail on you. I could guarantee you that, Larry. There will come a day that Dan has a live chat and nobody shows up.
Come on now, it'll never be that bad.
You have to trust me. How many friends does Dan have? How many real friends does Dan have? Let me see. I got 2 hands here. I got forget it.
You got 14 million people in the chat right now.
Just forget about it. Friendship is not the reason why I do things. So okay, let's get back to. We're getting along here nicely. Let's get back to talking about what Steve said. Now, Mike says that he went in there and he watched the video. All right, so I appreciate that. Appreciate that, Mike. Okay, so here's what Steve tends to do that catches my attention. I'm not here to say whether it's good or bad or not. As a matter of fact, I'm a subscriber. I'm passive aggressive. Remember, I could critique him. At the same time, I could say I really like Steve's channel. Does that make any sense, Larry?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Just because you like somebody's channel doesn't mean you agree with them all the time.
Yeah. So I mean, you go and you sign up. If you don't know about Steve, Filipinos need to know. Maybe he's got a hookup for you if you're looking for Mr. Man. I don't know.
I mean, he does that, but you can get to Phil for a lot of people that are trying to come, or a lot of people that are here.
I mean, he helps them when they first arrive. He helps the expats when they first arrive to the country.
Oh yeah, he does.
I mean, some of them may be heading here because they're going to meet their LDR for the first time.
Yeah.
But others, they come over here, they have no one. I'm sure that's the case.
I'm sure some of them come over just hoping to meet somebody. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of guys that are like me that says the best way to meet someone is boots on the ground.
We know you're multitasking. Work it, girl. Work it. Listen, you probably could sit there all day, right? You could I've seen people do this. I've seen people make heck of money because they're sitting there and they're working all the channels and people are running giveaways. And I've seen days where 1 or 2 people on 5 or 6 different live chats have walked away with all the money. And it just puts a big smile on my face. You know, I mean, that is working it. I'm telling you, that is really, really working it. That's like a full-time
job. Says, like me, I have no one.
Who said that?
knit band.
Well, knit band,
I think
we,
that's his. I think that's his choice.
that's right.
He,
It's not
he's
because,
been overseas a couple times.
yeah, it's not because no one wants you, knit band. How about we put it that way? Yeah, how about we put it that way? We'll remain friends. Hey, so, but I think that Larry, knit band, we're kind of used to each other's personality because we had a head start.
Yeah, yeah.
We would
It's just like
see
we're used
everybody's
to.
personality would shine through on Chris and Sabu. Yeah,
Yeah, and Jerry. We all got to know Jerry and Chris and Sabu.
right. So
We
yes, of course, Mike. One of the things that bugged me about it was what you mentioned. About, see, by law, by Filipino law, they aren't really, by law. They're it's against the law to form communities for a specific group, especially if they're expats. So when you build, like, say, one of the rules is for building a condominium project or a townhouse project, something like that. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm wrong 99.9% of the time. Is that it has to be certain percentage of Filipino occupied. That's the
It's got to
rule. And
be.
so
I think
you
it's
can't,
60%. I think.
yeah, it's 60%. So you can't build a townhouse subdivision and then have it be anything more than 40% Western owned. And that's done by design. And it makes sense to me. It's going to prevent all kind of problems from happening. It's a good social construct, in my opinion, on its face. I mean, without going into it to see how it impacts communities, I would say it's just good policy. Something they don't have. They haven't done so well in the United States. It also increases the diversity of that particular building or that neighborhood. And so that was one thing. So he would be ill-informed if he actually thought that these things could develop. He actually said it the way he should have said it. He said this could happen in the future, and I'm just telling, not without a change in Filipino law. It can't happen. And so that can happen. Yeah, you have concentrations of Westerners like in Dumaguete and Manila and at BGC. You have concentrations, but they're spread out. You can't point to that building, and say that's all American there. That's all Australian over there. That's all, over there is all Norwegian. You can't, because it doesn't exist. So that's one thing I was pointing out. Steve is East Coast and has a different flavor from the West Coast. Maybe that's what rubs you wrong. Yeah. Well, except that I've lived on the East Coast. As a matter of fact, I lived in Boston for a while. Been to Harvard because I'm a Dunkin' Donuts guy.
How long did you live there?
Long enough to know that I didn't want to live there.
That doesn't take long sometimes.
Yeah, I guess Mike has made his point there. I have no one. Always available, Knit Band. Always available. That's not a bad place to be, my friend. That's not a bad place. I'm sure that Crystals has somebody for you in mind. I'm sure there's somebody here in the chat that's looking for a rich, established, intelligent homeowner with several college degrees. Yes.
We'll treat them right.
I have a lot of friends. See, Sir Mike, New Jersey, I have a lot of friends there. Yeah, what kind of a donut? Is it Bavarian cream? That's what I want to know. Is it Bavarian cream? An organized group of Yanks. Yeah, pretty much. So I mean, you could always. That's why Steve's an important resource, though. So I don't want to. I don't want to
Well,
minimize
Mike,
that. That's
are you
for
down
sure.
in San Diego then? I was in the Navy in San Diego. Mike said he joined the Navy to get out of New Jersey.
Okay, so here are the things. All right, here are the things. I don't listen carefully enough to you guys, and I don't listen carefully enough to YouTube videos in general. But for some reason, I was like radar, zeroed in on Steve's every word and I got hung up on a couple of them. And I just want to share what they were. I'm not picking on Steve, by the way. I've done this many, many times myself. If you go back, I don't want to set myself up for getting criticized, but I suppose that if I'm going to be critical of others, you can be critical of me. But if you could go back and you view every single video, see what I'm doing here, Larry? This is a trick. I'm getting everybody to go back and watch every single video again. This is how you do it.
Okay.
You will find my slip up in verbiage. I do it all the time. And that's for a couple of different reasons that I would like to explain. One is a couple of years ago, about 3, I had what it could be described as a stroke. And the brain and the mouth don't coordinate like they should oftentimes. So I'm thinking a thought of here, and then out comes something else. So I'm getting better and better at correcting that because I'm more aware that I do it than I ever have been before. But oftentimes people would say to me, they would say, did you mean to use this word? Or they will say, I didn't hear the entire sentence. Could you repeat it? Or they'll suggest, did you mean to use this word as opposed to that one? Or did you mean to say it this way? So that is being a pretty good critical listener when you're able to do that. And so I'm okay with being corrected, and I've been corrected a few times in the chat. Not today, but I mean, oftentimes I'm being corrected. So that's the main reason. And so I mess up all the time like this. So, but he separated out a group of people from another group of people in a very bad way. All right. And I've been critical of Steve in the past for doing this. I've said, I've said it's not a good idea to talk about something that you don't really understand. And then when you try and put them into a group by referring them to a group, they actually have created their own name for their own group of people, but they have not defined exactly who they are. And so I'm talking about passport bros. You can't, when you're using a sentence, this line, passport bros and regular expats, then you're saying that passport bros are not regular expats when we don't really know who passport bros are. And so that caught my attention, and it gives me a peek into Steve. And remember, I said you have to be careful what you put on Facebook and what you say on YouTube. Sometimes you have to be careful what you put, because it gives people a glimpse, if you will, of your inner soul. It gives them a glimpse of who you are inside. And you don't really want to give people a whole bunch of stuff that they could yank your chain on. I pretty much am Teflon when it comes to criticism. I can take the criticism and sometimes comment on it. You can even get me to change my thinking on a subject, which I think is good, is okay. It kind of means that there's still hope for Dan. So I'm okay with criticism. Others on YouTube, I noticed they're not so great. I would rank myself from 0 to 10. 10 being the most accepting of criticism, and the 0, of course, being, I don't like it at all. I'm about a 5 when it comes to being critiqued. If that means anything to anybody, I'm at about a 5. So stop making fun of my cost. Yes, I am. Nitban is an easy target. Oh, Nitban is an easy target. What would a live stream be without Nitban being in the house? So anyway, that's why. So I wanted to say I do this all the time. So he did this, and it was a tiny bit upsetting to me. And I'll tell you what, if Sunrise Shoulder catches this, what he said, then he's going to go on a rant again. Of course, he didn't call Steve out the last time. He spoke in generalities. I don't even know that it was Steve that he was referring to. I just guessed. I don't even know, Larry, if you saw the video that I'm referring to where Sunshine Shoulders.
I didn't see the one from Sunshine Shoulder.
Yeah, he just plain said it a lot nicer than I did. He said people that don't know what they're talking about should just keep their mouths shut. But he said it in a way in which I could understand it. He basically said, shut the F up if you don't know what you're talking about. And I kind of agree. And why he wants to continue putting his foot in his mouth, I have no idea. Because some people might conclude that he was on some kind of a rant. It was very quick, it was very subtle. And then I conclude by talking about it right here. So it's good to talk things out. That Steve and I have a lot in common. I've concluded that we do. We have more in common than we don't. And that is that passive aggressive behavior that comes out by making statements without thinking them through and by making sarcastic remarks off the cuff. And I have said on here in the live chat that, and I'm going to declare it again, I am making a sincere and honest attempt to change. I'm making a sincere and honest attempt to change and try not to be so dogmatic, and try to change the verbiage of words, try to be nicer, accepting, more open. But truth of the matter is, there are just certain things that I just cannot get over. I cannot get over, and I just can't get over certain comments that certain people make. And so, but yet I turn around and I make them myself. I suppose you could say it's being human, it's just part of being a human being. But I think that in my case, that would be giving me too much room to move around. You can just say, oh, that's just part of being human. Then you're just apologizing on my behalf. So I don't want, so I just said it, right? So that's that kind of behavior that I'm trying to curb. Chris Lawson, watching from Arizona. Say hello to my good old friend, Minnie. Oh yeah. Hi, Chris. Of course. Hi, Chris. You're living over there in if I'm not mistaken, you're in Eastern Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. Nice to see you. Yeah, Chris is here in the chat. Chris Lawson is here. I haven't seen her. Yeah, come on. But I don't know how far behind I'm in the chat. I hope she's still listening. There she is.
Hello,
Hey,
good morning.
Mimi.
Hi. Hi, good morning, Sir Larry. And who's there? Everyone.
It's
That's
Sir Larry.
Chris.
It's Sir Larry today.
Mhm.
And Nip Ann is here.
Hi, Nick.
Mike will be meeting soon. He's coming to
How are you
bye-bye.
guys?
Zendy's here. Beautiful Talks is in the chat.
Hi.
Having
guys.
breakfast. Beth is here.
I see.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks, man, Minnie, for saying hello to everybody in the chat. Menge is here. Mel.
Hi, Mindy. And
Don't forget Crystal.
Crystal's here from Crystal's Adventure. Watching the video, I took it
Hey,
as
Dr. Blue, how you doing, man?
sex pats, drunks from Passport Bros and regular dudes. I don't look at Passport Bros as a negative. Yeah, that was the whole thing. That's what I thought about it. And so I thought that because unless you define who you think they are, and I couldn't do it. I tried to, I think we don't need a history lesson on this, but if we do, then you have to clearly define who you're talking about, and prior to making a statement, you have to say, okay. In fact, I just wouldn't have done it. I just plain wouldn't have done it. It's too complicated.
I know.
Yeah.
One of the things that's happening with the Passport Bros.
Yeah, first we don't know who they are, Larry. We don't know if we're talking
What I'm
about.
saying is, somebody that was talking there said, well, they seem to be putting the Passport Bros and the Passport Joes into one group, which is wrong because they're two different groups. But they seem to be lumping them together and talking about, because the new Passport Bros, not the ones that came over years ago, the ones that the women are talking about, calling them Passport Bros in the States now, those guys and the Joes both come over for basically the same kind of reason, to meet a nice girl. To meet,
Mhm.
not to meet, not to find somebody that's going to be, oh, yes, master, and wait on them, That's not, if they're coming over looking for that, they're going to the wrong place. Because and I know, because I've dated a couple Filipinos in the States, they have their own mind. And if you do something wrong, they will let you know about it, which I don't blame them. I mean,
Right.
So like I said, they're not going to bend, no. You're not going to
No,
walk.
I think you're on. I do believe, I respect that opinion because I think there is something to what you said. There is something to that the lines are they're kind of blurry. They're kind of fuzzy. Yeah.
And
And
like I
so
said, I'm not the one that came up with it. I can't remember.
Right, but I don't separate either one of those groups. I wouldn't separate them or treat them any differently than any other person that came over.
Yeah,
Okay, so that was one issue. And so the other issue is going to be this. The other issue was, I think you guys understand me 100% on that one. Or I hope you,
Bye,
and if
AJ.
not-
Take care, man.
if not, go ahead and, chime in. But who left us?
Mike, hey, Joe is leaving. Says, got to
Okay.
run. See you soon.
All right. The other thing, he made this statement, and this one I think is okay to make as long as he could say, in my personal opinion, which he is giving his opinion, but would have been nice if he would have made a qualifying statement because it just came out sounding bad.
Yeah.
He said something to the effect that he made an implication or implied that expats coming over to the Philippines that do not have a military background are coming over with problems. What the hell does that mean? In other words, I have no idea what he was trying to imply there, but if he was saying, and then he tied it to coming over here, I think he was saying, I'm not sure exactly, I absolutely do not want to put words in his mouth, right? But it seemed to me, or the way I took it, was that they're coming over here with not enough money and mental health issues. And that military personnel, he was implying that military personnel are a little bit more centered. And
I haven't seen it. Right.
Okay, all right. Another subject that is not one that I would have felt necessary.
No, I'm with you.
That people need to know.
He's touched on that before, and I think it's because some people that he was close to have stabbed him in the back.
Right.
He talked about, if you have problems, don't come over here to solve. Talking about the Philippines, don't come over here to solve them. Solve them while you're still in the States, because otherwise you're going to have the same problems over here. And then
which of course is true. It's a very academic of him. In other words, it's very cerebral of him, because that's something that sociologists will talk about all the time. In other words, just because you're changing location does not mean that these problems are solved. In other words, location is just location.
Yeah.
That's all. And so as immigrants, the United States being the melting pot, Steve would know, based on his experience in life and what he did for a living, that people tend to bring their baggage with them when they move. And we do. And so those customs, traditions, and beliefs follow you wherever you go all over the world.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't see a need to make that declaration as he connected it to people without a military background are what?
It shouldn't have been that way. Because
let's
be honest about it. Let's be honest. But just because you were in the military doesn't mean you got your together.
Right.
I used to have a little button I wore and said, I finally got my shit together, but I forgot where I put it. That happens to people. Just because you went to college, just because you have a good paying job, just because you were in the military, doesn't mean you got all your problems worked out. It just doesn't. We can have problems and to varying degrees, but we're going to have problems even when we go over. But if you have something major wrong, get that worked out, because it's not going to go away when you go over there. Now, if your problem is living on your income, going overseas will help. But if your problem is how you deal with people, that's going with you.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't, although I would stop short in, I'm not going to, I might make a statement. If I cleaned it up a lot, I might make a statement. I could picture myself making a statement if I cleaned it up a lot so that people wouldn't throw tomatoes at me. But I wouldn't tell people not to come, no matter what their circumstances were. That's not my area.
I agree with you, but I do agree with Stephen pointing it out. Look, this is, if you got some emotional baggage, it's not going to go away just because you come over here. You're going to have to deal with it either there or here.
Right.
And it may be better to deal with it where it's at. Maybe it's not. Maybe getting away from it will help you deal with it. Only they can decide that.
Well, you can see what bugged me about that, because there were a lot of assumptions made. There were a lot of assumptions made, and I'm more of a statistical fact kind of guy.
Yeah.
I want to see, I want to develop an idea based on evidence instead of anecdotal evidence. Unless I said, well, I'm just giving my opinion here, I've observed, that would be different.
Well, like I
That's
said, I mean,
those are kind of the things I'm trying to become better at. And
like
so
I
I
said,
encourage,
I do have some baggage or problems, whatever you want to call it. Part of it is, living on my income. I've told you, and I've told many people, I'm in debt because of my own stupidity. I mean, I'm the one that spent too much money. I'm digging my way out now, and and I will be able to live better on less money over there than I can live on over here.
Pita is here. Pita is here.
Who?
Peter of
Oh
Barbaria.
yeah, I already said hi to Peter. I noticed him when he came in, but like I said, I don't think I got any problem that I can't transpose overseas and actually maybe help it by going over. Because, like I said,
Right.
a lot of mine is money, uh, and that's self-induced. Like I said, I never blamed a girlfriend for me taking her out to eat or me going. I did that. I spent money I didn't have. Uh, no one forced me to do it. So, maybe that's because I believe in taking responsibility for your own mistakes.
Well, with Western credit sort of schemes coming to the Philippines, do you have anything that you would like to share with the Filipino audience?
If you can wait on buying something and save the money to buy it, do that. Don't say, hey, I actually went out to bars drinking on the credit card. Don't do that. Just because I was bored. Uh, don't use your credit card because you want to go do something because you're bored at home. Find something else to do. Work around the house. Learn to watch TV and enjoy it. Uh, I no longer go to the bars. I can stay home now. Uh, but don't let the credit card become a crutch, which it was for me. It was like, I
Well,
want
they
to do
have
something.
this
I just take
thing,
the card,
Larry. They have
the
this
card and go
thing.
do it.
It's
Huh?
called it's called home credit, and it is a scary, scary animal. It is a beast, like a
And
beast
like I
I
said,
have never seen
it
before.
can become a crutch.
It has 6 horns on its head. It has 6 heads and 6 horns on its head.
Like I said, that credit card can become a crutch. Oh, I want this. Here's my credit card because it's funny money. And your bill comes in and it's like, oh, so that little bit I can pay that. But if you pay that little bit, what they're asking for, it could take you 10, 15 years to pay that damn thing off because they're barely asking for what over the interest rate. Because the longer they can get you to pay, the more money they make because you're just paying the interest, well, plus a little bit on the principal. And that
Well,
is
what
that
do
is
you think?
that is
Let's talk about that interest rate for a moment, there, Larry. What do you think? What do you think the interest rate is? What's a decent interest rate on a credit card? Do you think?
somewhere between right now 25 to 29%.
What do you think? You want to know what they're paying over there for credit?
What?
They're gonna they're gonna pay double for the price if they go out and they want to buy a television set today because they think they need it, and they
Yeah.
go and they sign on the dotted line home credit. They're
Yeah.
going to pay twice as much for that television set.
I mean, but
Under the,
remember the 25 to 29%. If you just pay the minimum payment, you'll pay a lot more than double.
yeah, they're going to pay more than double for it.
Oh yeah, because what it is, all you're doing is you're paying the interest plus a little bit on the principal, and that interest is compounded daily. That is not, well, this interest is for the whole loan. That's all the interest is. Oh no, that interest is done every time, and it's new interest. It's not like a bank loan. All right, you take a bank loan, the interest is included for the length of the. There's a set amount of time that you'll be paying it off, and like, all right, my bank loan, you pay the interest up front pretty much, and then you're paying the loan off. I got 2 more payments and a bank loan is paid off. Now, I paid a lot of money, but nothing like I would if I got a credit card. But that will save me over $385 a month getting that bill paid off. But that's a lot of cash for quite a few years I had that for.
Right. Yeah. Dodger Blues sounds like NetBand. It sounds to me like we have the same belief system. So I use that. I use that to leverage purchases, and then I pay it off as quickly as I can. So usually it's
There's
15 days or 10 days, so I can get the cash back.
Yeah.
So I just paid one this morning. I just bought that. Telling you about how we bought some silver online. It was delivered today, and then I went in there and I get 3% cash back for the purchase. So I went in there and just paid it off. Once it was delivered, I paid for it.
Oh yeah.
Of course,
like I said, that's the best way to use a credit card. Pay it off every month. Boom. I have a friend, she does that.
Of course, if the collapse of the United States would have occurred before then, I would have forgot about it.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. I would have kept the silver, and I would have given them nothing.
But like I said, though, really, don't use that credit card for something that can wait, unless you could pay it off that month, like Dodger does. Charge it, then pay it off that month. If you can do that, then there's nothing wrong with using a credit card. But I couldn't. I didn't. And like I said, I am still working today because of my own stupidity. Well, no, I'd still be working. I'll be honest.
Yeah, Dodger.
I'd be working.
I
But I
believe
wouldn't
it,
have took my
Dodger.
Social Security yet. I would not have took my Social Security until I was 70. I might have
Yeah,
still
as long as hey,
my mother's still
as-
living. I got to do something.
as long as they're ponying up the money and the terms, why not, Dodger? That's what I do. Yeah, credit. Yeah, so as many people know, you can go to the Sorry store, and you could float you could float a kilo of rice or something with them to get by until payday. And you just square it away with them.
Dodger's right here. He says, Crystal, credit card can be a good thing or your worst enemy. And in my case, it was my worst enemy. My first credit card I used judiciously. I paid it off quickly. I used it only for things it was a gas credit card. I could buy tires, get the oil fix, and that's all I used it for. Then I got another credit card. And I was so good with the first one, I thought, no problem. And I let it go to my head, and I just overused, and I got myself in trouble.
Credit to cash. What the heck is that, Abby? I never heard of that. What is that? What's credit to cash?
Probably
That almost
a loan.
sounds like a payday loan. That almost sounds like a payday loan.
Probably, like I said, probably a loan. And payday loans, depending on the interest, may not be a bad thing. Better than a credit card is what I'm saying.
That's right. A monster's chasing. But we can't. But hey, Crystals, you explained this before. We can separate good debt from bad debt.
Yeah.
A television set would be bad debt. A good debt would be. Yeah, that's right. So in your case, if you're using it because you're floating parts for your business or things like that, that's what you use it for. In other words, that means, that would be good because that's keeping the machine going.
Well, it's keeping you making money.
You're making profit from it.
Yeah, it keeps you making profit.
Right.
Sometimes you have to take credit to get ahead. But you don't take credit just because
NetBand, the big banks are going bankrupt, my friend. So listen, here's the wild thing that's going on. Even with all the stuff that's going on, them charging you all this interest for these notes, for these loans and credit cards and all the other different loan packages they offer all these products. They are still not able to make money.
Now, Dodger Blue said his first credit card was Montgomery Ward's. Texaco turned him down. My first credit card was Standard Oil. It was a gas station more in the middle Midwest and the East Coast. I don't know if they were on the West Coast, but they were. They were in Indiana and New York. I know that. And 'cause like I said, my car broke down in New York City, and I had to get it fixed, and I had to put it on my card, and I had them tow it to a Standard station so I could get the car fixed and put it on my credit card to get it fixed because I didn't have the cash to fix it.
Yeah, well, that's the lesson, I guess. The lesson is don't buy anything until you have the cash in hand to buy it.
Well, I had the cash for the car. It was a repair. I was on a trip and my alternator went out, and so I had to get it fixed. Now, it wasn't a whole lot, only $100 and some, so I would be able to pay it off later. Like I said, I was very good with this card. All right. So I mean, if I had a bill, I either paid it off that month or it was paid off. It might have carried over 1 month. It did not carry over months. It was either paid off the month I got the bill or by the next month. So I kept the interest rate down, kept it paid off. But
Hey, but I don't see the necessity in the appliances because everything is so available
I was
here.
getting my car fixed.
Yeah, Larry, look at what Crystals is saying for a second here. For example, right here in the Philippines, so it's very unlikely. It's not in. I've been thinking about a lot about this. So
And I
in
got to
the
agree with you. It
Philippines-
is easier, but it's not smart.
Yeah, it's easier. It's easier to make this work in the Philippines without appliances because part of the culture is they shop for the food that they're going to consume on a daily basis. This is something I couldn't understand in the beginning when I first moved here, because every day they would be going shopping. So the appliances in the house, they were small refrigerators, small stove, small this, small that. It's because small refrigerator, you're not storing very much food at any given time, and you're not purchasing for refrigeration. You're going to the wet market and you're buying the pig or the chicken that was slaughtered that day into bite-sized bits, and you're going in there and buying it by the kilo, taking it home and cooking it. And so I don't see why there's a need for somebody to have a refrigerator or a
I'm
stove.
going to come at it from a different angle, if you don't mind, Dan.
Yeah.
If they really want to buy that appliance, and you're going to go in debt for it, don't buy anything else till that's paid off.
Right.
Because what happens is, oh, well, look how easy it is. These are easy payments. Now I can go get this. Because I take it from someone who's dumb enough to do it the wrong way. Then you go get this other, well, I can still pay that. Let's go get this. And you start getting things that you know good and well you can wait on. Because, hey, I got the credit card. I can buy it now and pay it off. And it takes you forever. So, like I said, if you're going to buy something, just buy it to.
See, remember I was talking about this before about how the commercials that are starting to show up on YouTube and regular television are kind of scary because they look just like American commercials for frozen food, for fast food, for appliance purchases, for car purchases. And I'm looking at what about the big stuff like the car purchases, for example? I started thinking to myself, where are people getting money to buy all this stuff? Why would they be spending money on advertising to people who cannot afford to buy a new car, a new refrigerator, a microwave oven so they can cook frozen food? It is because they can afford to buy it. They can afford to buy it over time. And that's pretty scary. I mean, look at this. Talks log. Pacquiao Mertz meow. Let's see. Somebody was saying something about it. Maybe I missed it. So, in other words, they're not going to spend the money on commercial advertising if there's nobody that has money to buy those goods. So they have to create a
Pacquiao
consumer
Mertz is in the
environment.
house along with Emily.
Mertz, were you live earlier? Is that why I saw people hopping in and out of my live stream? Crystals, they can create a separate account, save enough in that account, and then pay cash. And that's what my mom and dad used to do. They had different jars, and each jar had a label on them. And I very rarely see, I know people do it. I've seen people in the Philippines do it. You know, but I haven't seen many people in the States do it this way anymore. But basically, they would say this jar is for refrigerator, this is for allowance for the kids, this jar is for electric bill, this jar is for mortgage payment. And then all the money would be doled out. When they had enough money in that brand new refrigerator jar, then they would grab it and go buy they would head out to J.C. Penney or Sears, come back with a brand new refrigerator paid for in cash. Yeah.
Well, and another thing you're talking about jars. You're talking about Steve earlier. He talks about envelopes. I believe it's Steve. You know, I have an envelope where you put the money for this there and this money there. It might have been another vlogger, but I know Steve always talks about.
Yeah, he does. He
budget.
does.
So, like I said, one of them was talking about, well, he's got this here envelope, and he puts in the rent in that envelope, and he's got this other bill. He'll put the money in there for that, and he'll put the money in this envelope for that. So the money's separated and it's there. So when it comes due, you're ready to pay it, which is like you said, like your mom and dad's jars. It's a very good thing, especially if you're saving. You know, I think the jars would be better for saving, but the envelopes would probably be good for a monthly bill.
Sandy, I love you. Don't do it anymore. See, because after you get that system going, they're going to love you. Every time they see you going into the appliance section of that store, they're going to be coming up to you because they know that, oh, she'll pay us back. She's the one that bought the microwave or the TV the time before last, and she paid every dime in full. And then they're going to up your credit limit. They're going to try and upsell you to something else, something more expensive.
They always want to upsell you.
They're going to upsell you, yeah. And they're going to give you the credit to buy it as much as you want. And see, the way it happened in the States, the way it happened in the States, Zendy, is people became proud because they had this great credit score. Oh, I'm credit worthy, and so it was like, and this whole consumer society got going and keeping up with the Joneses and all this other stuff. You'll be competing with your neighbors because they'll watch you bring home a new refrigerator, then they'll go down and get them one. And that's how that whole consumer credit system got going. Yeah. And I think it was it Diners Club was my first credit card. I don't know if you guys remember them. I think they later became Discover Card, right? Or was Sears Discover Card? What happened to Diners Club?
Sears was Discover Card. Sears became
Discover Card. Okay, who was Diners Club? Because I think Diners Club was actually my first. I think, was it American Express? Diners Club was a net 30-day card.
Yeah,
that was my first.
That would be American Express.
Yeah, you'd have to go in there and you have to pay in 30 days, or else they'd take that card away from you.
You know, that's American Express.
Yeah, of course it's tempting. That's how they're going to suck you in, Crystals. That's how they're going to get your money. Don't give them your money. You work too hard for it. Don't give them your money. Call your Uncle Dan, Loan Shark Dan. I'll give you a way better interest rate. No, just joking. Hey, but you can see how this can get away from you, you know, because you know that you can buy something, you just have to buy it on time, right? And then you're suffering as you do it for some reason, just part of the human condition that once that's paid for, we start looking for another thing to buy that'll make us miserable for the next 5 years of our life. It's a weird thing. It's a really strange thing.
You get sucked into that carousel, you know, that ride. That's why I say carousel, because it just keeps going round and round. And that's what you do with your credit. You just keep going around and around. You get it almost paid off, so you go buy something else. Now you maybe not quite as paid off, but it's like, hey, I can handle it. Go buy something else, and it just keeps going round and round
Uh,
and building up speed. And sucks
yes.
right in. And
You articulated very well, Larry. I appreciate that. And then Abby's talking about this new deal. Abby, I have cards, right? I got cards. Let me show you. And I got to tell you something. This thing that you just described, I'm getting bombarded constantly. Did you know that you could borrow using your credit card? And all you have to do is do this, and we will debit it. We will put it in your bank account. So in this case, it says you can withdraw the money. Let's see. It's from your account. The money you ask in your line of credit limit, then you can withdraw the money from your debit card. It's exactly the same thing that we're getting bombarded with. And so I just want to show you a sampling. This is just a sample of my cards, and not a single one of these has any kind of do I owe money on it. It's pretty scary to look at, actually. All right, I'm not going to show you which ones I got, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you this stack. Let me give you a cross-section view. This is what happens. This is what happens when you live in the States. Folks, this is what happens. You don't want this to happen to you, because Man Mini and I shouldn't say Man Mini, I'll say Dan, because Man Mini didn't owe anybody a dime. Is Sammy here? Who's here? Sammy?
Sammy came in for a little bit. She says later.
Sammy, thanks for coming to the live, Sammy. What ends up happening is Minnie didn't know anything about this, right? She didn't know anything about this. I had to clean up thousands of dollars of credit card debt. When we decided to move to the Philippines, it's not a good idea, folks. If we haven't talked about this, it's not a good idea to come over to the Philippines in debt. You want to make sure you do like Larry is doing. You pay everything off, and then you start concentrating on saving for that transition from the States or wherever you are to the Philippines. You're going to need that transition money. I'd explained to Larry before that the amount of money that we went through was way more than I anticipated, and just about every streamer, live streamer, or videographer, YouTuber, they're going to tell you they have the same experience. When they didn't expect, for example, to be in the hotel for as long as they were. They weren't expecting to have to. That was going to take so long to find a place that they were going to like. And they weren't expecting them to ask for so much money up front, the first month and the last two as security deposit. You need to pocket more money.
It's like 7 months rent all at once.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't even know why they do it that way.
There's some places here that do the same thing. They at least want the first month and a deposit minimum. And the place I'm at now, that's what it was. I did, actually, it was a month and a half, because we can move in the middle of the month. So you got a month and a half plus another month for a deposit. So 2.5 months up front. Then you move in, and then every month you make your payment. But you got to have enough for after that, just that, the 3 months. You still better have enough to live for 3 or 4 months, because like you said, you don't know how long it's going to take you. So if you got enough to live without working and not touching the money you got coming in. So, I mean, I'm not saying that you don't count that money, but the money coming in, your income, for lack of a better word, not your budget, but your income still coming in, because I use them separately. So that income coming in is going to be, if you don't already have it, you better be putting that aside in case in 6 months you got a boot scoot boogie to go back home. You got to think about that, because not everybody's going to want to stay after they get there. And you can't say you're going to stay no matter what. You can say, I think I'm going to stay no matter what. You can think, I believe I'll make it. But Crystal was talking about something that was on a different topic, but she says you don't know until you get involved. And that's the truth. Until you get there, you don't know. Like I said, I worked with Filipinos. I got along great with them. I've been to the Philippines. I like the weather. I was there in the fall, September, October, November. Uh, I loved it, but that was how many years ago? And then again, I didn't have to worry about paying for rent. I didn't have to worry about buying food because I was in the Navy. I lived on the ship. I did buy food out in town, but that's a whole different ball game.
Dodger Blues cracking me up. Nip in. I'm on the high side of 56. Yeah, I would say you're on the high side of that number.
Sammy says, permission to the host, please remove my jacket.
Oh yeah, sure.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Doesn't matter to me.
But anyway, like I said, it's you've got to plan for success, but be ready for failure.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, if you get over there and after 6 months or whatever, and you're miserable, why would you stay? You need to be able to come back. And I think within 6 months, you're going to know if you like it or not. That's my thought, my opinion. I do believe that I'll enjoy it. I may not enjoy the first place I go to, but I do believe I'll be able to find a place I'll like. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to lie to you, Dan. Excuse me. I'm not going to. I'm going to look for a place like Cebu or Dumaguete or Iloilo. I think those places would appeal to me more than the provincial lifestyle, and for a couple of different reasons. One, I think there's more to do in those kind of places. The coffee shops, the expats, the malls. There's a lot of those places have beaches close by. I'm just a city boy. I'm not a country boy. I don't mind staying home, but I don't want to have to stay home because it's too far of a drive into the city. You know, because I can live in the city and stay home. I can just stay right in my apartment, no matter where I live, as much as I want. And I don't mind being outside the city as long as it's not a huge commute in. Because maybe it's a little quieter, maybe it's a little cheaper. So, like I said, I'm not against living outside the city, but I want to be really close to one. Hospitals, for one reason. The older you get, medical care is a big factor for us.
Sure, should
Big
be.
concern. And like I said, entertainment is another thing. The bigger community, the better entertainment. Now, that doesn't mean some provincial areas don't have great entertainment, because some of them have great beaches, but those are usually resorts. And I don't think I would live in a resort.
Pumpkin Joe has made a good comment here. Talked about solid financial traffic credit about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I stopped keeping up with the Joneses. If I can't cash, I simply can't afford it and don't need it.
Now, Pumpkin, I'm going to tell you something. You're smarter than me. It took me longer than that. And I'm a whole lot older. You'd think I'd have a little more life experience, but I'm a little more hard-headed. Dan,
give me 5 days.
Vacation.
Yeah, well, I think it's you that we should be asking money from.
And give me $5,000. I'll pay off a couple bills.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sammy says goodbye. Hey, can you do me a favor, Larry?
What's that?
Try and remember we were talking the other day, we were talking about Nightbot to see if it were asleep or what was going on.
Hang on.
And so I just want you to slide see if you can get Nightbot to put your channel name up there. Because maybe it's
asleep. Put in Dan.
Maybe it's not working.
Well, we'll see.
because I haven't seen not Nightbot make their appearance at all. So I might have to go in there and then do something. All right. Cardless. Yeah, as a matter of fact, would the United States collapse if everybody just stopped paying their credit card bills?
If they stopped paying it, they probably would. Now, if they quit using it, that's a different story. I think the economy would slow down if they stopped using it, but I don't think it would collapse. It would definitely go into I don't know if I want to say a recession, but it'd be a regression. It might even make a recession if everybody quit using their credit cards all at once. But
Yeah, so the whole China thing, the whole China thing and the BRICS thing. So a number that I ran into online was showing that it's impossible for the United States to lose its status as a reserve currency because China is holding something like $1.1 trillion of financial instruments in U.S. currency. In other words, U.S. currency, it doesn't necessarily mean in U.S. currency. It means that the debt or the instrument that they hold, financial product or whatever it is, it has to be serviced in U.S. dollars. So, I mean, in order for China to become the BRICS to become the world currency, the world reserve currency, they would at least have to have as much money as we do. They would have to have way more money than we do, than we're able to conjure up, and that's a numerical impossibility. So I want to chime in and say one more thing about the BRICS thing and how I'm not sure what's behind the drama about the dollar losing its value, because if you look at today's rate, if you're looking at, like I said, I started the conversation earlier, if you're looking at the Philippine peso exchange rate, you can't tell from looking from there that the dollar is losing its value. It's strengthening in value, as a matter of fact. So I don't know what to make of it. What do you make of it, Larry?
The dollar compared to the Chinese money?
Yeah. What are you making of all this drama that's happening, saying that the dollar is losing its value?
Well, I think what you got to look at is which country, and I'm talking about not the United States or China. I'm talking about the other countries. Which country do you trust more to survive? So when you look at China, do you think they're going to be stronger and survive longer, or do you think the United States is? And part of that is going to be driven by the money itself. I do believe the United States is stronger. I'm not real happy with the United States, but I still think it's better than China. I think we're stronger financially. I think our manufacturing, even though we've given away so much of it, I think we could mass produce whatever we need fairly quickly. That's my belief. I can't say it's true. That's just my opinion on it. I think we've given way too much manufacturing. Service, that's fine. But manufacturing, some of our goods that we really need is being made somewhere else that should be made here because it's important to us. I think all our medicine should be made right here, nowhere else. I think all of our medical supplies should be made right here, nowhere else. Now, like I said, There's
I
some
think
things that
Dodger
doesn't
Blue,
matter.
Dodger Blue has hit the. I think he's thinking we're thinking alike on this, Dodger Blue, and that is basically the dollar will eventually go to centralized bank digital currency, which would make the whole thing a moot point. You know, it doesn't matter what China does. And in other words, because we are owed so much money around the world, you know, it's easy to go to people, to different countries, and convince them that the ideal thing to do would be to go to the central bank's digital currency, because you're going to get more bang for your buck out of it, so to speak. In other words, we have something that's equally important, you know, and that is that you owe us money, and we can either call in the debt or we can forgive the debt, in which case we probably would tell them, if you join our currency, our collaboration,
Debt's forgiven.
CBDC, then we'll forgive part of your debt, or we'll forgive all of your debt, and we'll call the slate clean. That gives a tremendous amount of bargaining power, if you will.
Yeah, but I wouldn't do it all up front. I would say every year you're with us, X amount is taken off. After 10 years, you're debt free. You don't have to pay us a thing. Just stay with us for 10 years and you owe us nothing. But if you just say,
So
hey,
China's
I'm
sitting on,
and
yeah.
then
So
a
this
year
is what
later
I meant
bounce,
to say. Nipan articulated it the way I meant to, and that is that China has over 1 trillion of the largest 1 trillion of foreign reserves, and so they're sitting on 1 trillion of foreign reserves. That should give you a clue as to what's going on.
Yeah.
That's 2 of the largest BRICS economies. So
India and China.
yeah.
But I think we could turn India against China. There's a lot.
Well,
We have a lot of manufacturing.
you wouldn't want really to turn anyone. You just let them play in the sandbox the way that they want to play in the sandbox. There's no need for us to do anything. In other words, in order for everything to work the way that so that China comes out on top, or the BRICS comes out on top as the world reserve currency, then Americans would have to stop consuming, and I just don't see that happening anytime soon. And then, of course, the Philippines would have to follow, because they're turning into a consumer culture. So in other words, people are looking towards the Philippines. They're looking towards Southeast Asia in general as being the next USA. They're trying to lock it in. And so you're seeing all this advertising being thrown at Asian and Southeast Asian countries.
Now, Sammy says money is demon. I don't know if money is, but credit is. Money to an extent, but the credit, when you go into debt and take it from somebody that's in debt, it can be a real, what do they call it, albatross around your neck.
Right.
Really hold you down like an anchor. And but you want to try, you want the good things, you want this, you want that. And like I said, take it from me. I've lived through it. And so I'm just trying to let you know that be careful what you do with.
Yeah, I think what Sammy's saying, though, is my point. My point is that I keep giving out warnings saying don't get sucked into the consumer culture. And I came out and I said, in order to mitigate what may happen in the next several months, you need to start producing your own food. You need to be more self-reliant. Work things out with your community and with your neighbors in order to figure out who's going to grow what and who's going to share their produce with who, so that you don't fall into this trap of having to go out and find and borrow money, or fall into some other trap that would make you beholden to the system of things. So in other words, that's why I'm saying stay away from that if you can. Stay away from having to encumber yourself in debt, especially for things that don't make sense, like buying things like appliances and television sets and things that where there's no upside to it. There's only a downside, and that's you having to service the debt.
And I agree about the appliances in the Philippines because of their lifestyle. Here in the States, a refrigerator, I think, is an appliance that most people would be going into debt because we don't shop every day. We don't live out in the country. Now, I'm lucky enough that my apartment is furnished. So if my refrigerator goes out, they take care of it. It's not me. But if I had to have my own refrigerator, I would have to buy one. Now, I would buy the smallest one I could get that would work for me. I wouldn't go out and buy the most expensive because maybe later on I'll go get the most expensive, but I'm getting the one that I need right now, and it doesn't have to have. Well, you know how they have them here. They got ice makers and everything else in them. I wouldn't get one with an ice maker anyway. But, I would get the smaller one, maybe only stand, 4 foot high. That'd be enough just to keep some food there that I could keep for a couple of days so I don't have to shop every day. Because I buy frozen vegetables. I don't like canned vegetables.
Yeah, but Crystals, it's impossible for there to be a fight. And the reason there's no contest. Because first of all transactions in the world, they aren't done using just exclusively the U.S. dollar. U.S. dollar is the reserve currency, which means it's the faith that the dollar will be good tomorrow that these countries put in the dollar. And so they invest in dollars because they know it's going to be here tomorrow. Unstable countries and war and all that, they destabilize currencies. And so right now, the United States is kind of hard to attack if you think about it, but it's not only that. I'm talking about if you wanted to launch a physical attack against the United States. But it's not only that, it's the stable government that people are putting their faith in.
Yeah.
The government is the US dollar. In other words, it's in God we trust, or in the US government we trust, something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to make comments that some might interpret as being blasphemous. That isn't the point. The biggest thing working against BRICS becoming the world reserve currency is the history of the countries involved. Yeah, but it's also there isn't enough money. There isn't enough money hanging around that would allow it to happen. Because like I said, I was getting ready to finish, and that's that almost 20% of the transactions around the world are done in the native currency, not in US dollars. So when they start talking about, for example, here's another reason. When they start talking about settling debt without using US dollars, a lot of countries have been doing that over the course of the last several years. And so we haven't missed them. The dollar is stronger than ever. Brazil happens to be one of them. And so who cares? In other words, who cares? They can challenge the dollar all they want. There isn't enough money in order to unseat the dollar. That's my whole point. They could base it on whatever they want. Commodities, gold. We've got in God we trust. I don't know. That was sort of a joke too. But anyway, the whole point of it is, the other part of it is that they created the digital yuan for the BRICS. China would not allow physical currency to leave their country because it would flee. Everybody would be going and investing in condominiums in San Francisco. A little ethnic joke there. I apologize. They would be going to San Francisco and buying high-rise buildings. They would not be keeping their money in a Chinese bank thinking to themselves, oh, this is a safe place for the money to be. That's the hilarious part of this whole thing. Well, see, that's the mistake the United States made. They shouldn't have weaponized the US dollar because it is the global currency. So you don't go to your neighbors and say, hey, we're restricting the use of the money unless you do what we say, what we want you to do. That's just being a big bully. See, I have to borrow a quote from somebody. I think it was Gerald Salente. If you go to his YouTube channel and you watch, one of the things that he says that I love is, in history, in time immemorial, the United States has always been about the business of war. And China has always been about the business of business. So remember that. Remember that. The United States has never been, we've never known much about civility because we were born of incivility. And so we know about war, we know about policing other countries, but we don't know too much about business. And that's the reason why China has emerged as being somebody that is going to have to be reckoned with, because they understand how business works, and so they understand how alliances work, and so they understand where money's involved, all other bets are off. Where money's concerned, you're our friend because we like money, and that's a commonality amongst the BRICS nations. Basically, is that they worry about the United States coming to them one day and saying to them, "Oh, we're going to sanction you." And can you imagine the United States going to China and saying some ridiculous thing like that? I mean, here it's easy to go to Russia and do that because they got oil and that's all they have. That's what makes their whole economy run. Without the sale of oil, and then the United States comes, and tells the world, we're moving away from the use of oil. We want to go all electric. And Russia doesn't view that as being a threat to them. Hell yes, it is. And then all of a sudden, we sanction them on top of it, saying not only do we don't want your oil, we don't want you using our dollar anymore as a reserve currency, as a way of transacting business, when the entire global economy is reliant upon the use of the dollar. Oh my gosh. It's really kind of scary what's going on in Washington, D.C. And Nitban is saying it's even lower than I've proposed. He's saying not all transactions, only 60 to 65 are done in U.S. dollars. And so so the U.S. has already announced they're working on their own digital currency. The central bank is working on their own digital currency. That's their answer to all this. I mean, it's so easy. It's so easy to defeat the BRICS by creating our own dollar. If they were having an impact, why is the dollar so strong right now? What was the first American coin to have "In God We Trust" on it? All right, Google it. You have 10 seconds. Ding, 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 ding. Ah, the silver dollar. So Nitban. Oh, it looks like 80%. Okay, there you go. So I don't know where I get my numbers from, but I just make them up as I go along. I told you that in the very beginning. Don't listen to anything that Dan has to say when it comes to this, except you better be growing your own food. Because, and you should be doing that anyway. It has nothing to do with whether I thought, something bad were going to happen or not. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. You should be doing that anyway. If you're not doing it, you guys need to put a plan together with your neighbors in order to get some food grown. All right, I guess we've run out of steam. 1864 2-cent piece. I never even heard of a 2-cent piece. I don't even know why we have pennies anymore, Dodger Blue. Crystal gave it to you, Dodger. She said that's ancient. Both Crystals and Larry gave it to you. All right, Dodger Blue. I think that's a wrap on this live stream. It's been very interesting. It has been open forum format. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the live. Oh, wait. Someone gets this 100 pesos. Who will it be? I'm going to tell you who we're going to let have it today. Today's winner is Aileen Cruz Official. You have 100 pesos coming to you in GCash.
Aileen, congratulations.
Yay!
Hey, man, Mimi, how you doing?
And I have,
Good. How are you, Sir Larry?
I believe I have Aileen's
Thank you.
GCash account. I got papers all over my desk. You wouldn't believe it if you saw it. But anyway, Aileen Cruz Official is the winner, and I'll be sending that off in the GCash ASAP for everybody who was in the live today. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day, week, evening, sleep, tomorrow, and wherever else you may be. Have a great time doing that. Larry, take us out of this live.
All right, everyone. Remember to be nice to each other. Take care of yourselves. Stay strong, stay safe, and stay healthy. Plus, as always, try to have fun. Bye.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone. Bye, Knit Band.